Breaking news tonight, President Trump set to sign an order to eliminate the Department of Education tomorrow. His new plan just announced. Plus, the dangerous weather sweeping the nation. A blizzard pounding Kansas. Whiteout conditions on highways. In Nebraska, this truck jackknifing while drivers were stranded in Colorado. Plus, the brush fires flaring up in Miami. Major roads shut down. And now those dangerous storms are on the move. We're tracking it all. NBC News exclusive. New images of the last known witness of that American spring breaker departing the Dominican Republic, where he's heading. New ground operation. Israel sending troops back into the Gaza Strip today. What it means for the hostages still being held inside. Making a deal. President Trump on the phone with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Are we any closer to a ceasefire? Our Richard Engel on the ground in Ukraine with the very latest. Secrets revealed. New details on what's inside those JFK documents just released. Do they shed any new light on who killed the president? Stunning video of a man wielding a chainsaw racing through a nursing home. The police officer who took him out. The decision today, will he face charges? Fertility clinic's investigation. What we learned about how IVF centers do not report their mistakes. All of this couple's embryos were destroyed accidentally. What you need to know. Plus, a medical breakthrough. The first man cured from sickle cell anemia joins us live. Top story starts right now. Good evening. I'm Ellison Barber in for Tom Llamas. We're coming on the air with breaking news tonight. NBC News has just learned that President Trump plans to sign an executive order closing down the Department of Education. The move fulfilling a campaign promise to shutter the agency, which has long been a target of conservatives. But it's unclear how he'll legally do that since Congress needs to sign off on officially closing a department of this kind. The order would be the culmination of weeks of effort by the Trump administration to wind down DOE. Trump's education secretary, Linda McMahon, has overseen a roughly 50% cut to the agency's workforce in what she has called the, quote, final mission of the department. The Education Department oversees tens of billions of dollars in grant money to schools across the country. But conservatives for years have said control of education should be returned entirely to the state and local level. They say it would empower parents to make choices about their children's education. For more on this, let's get right to NBC's senior White House correspondent, Garrett Haake, who joins us live tonight from the North Lawn. Garrett, this just breaking, but walk us through what do we know about this order at this point?
Yeah, Ellison, I'm holding a copy of the fact sheet that will accompany this order when the president signs it tomorrow. It is the culmination of weeks of work from this White House and decades of work within the conservative movement that has long viewed the Department of Education as something of a boogeyman. The order directs the Secretary of Education, in this case Linda McMahon, to take every necessary step she can to facilitate, this says, the closure of the Department of Education and return education authority to the states. The White House takes some pains through information we've been given from a senior administration official to say things like Title I funding, student loans, and students with disabilities aid won't be touched in this effort. Frankly, Ellison, some of this is aspirational. As you pointed out in the lead, it will take an act of Congress to ultimately shut down the Department of Education and transfer its authority back to the states. But the administration can take additional steps, like what they've already done, to eliminate positions within the department, fire career staff, and try to shift responsibilities elsewhere within the federal government. Now, the president intends to sign this executive order tomorrow here at the White House in a ceremony where he'll be joined by some supportive governors, including from Texas, Florida, and Indiana, where they're champing at the bit to get more of this control at state level. But some of my reporting over the last couple of weeks is that other states are not quite as ready, perhaps, to take over this authority. And so I think what you're seeing here today is an effort by the White House to take the next step in what could still be a quite lengthy process to accomplish this goal of transferring as much as possible of education authority back to the states. I will add one other note that's in this fact sheet suggesting we'll see some language to this effect in the EO, that what's left of the Department of Education, this order says, the funds will not be allowed to advance what they call DEI or gender ideology, another issue that this White House has been intently focused on going back to Inauguration Day. Ellison?
You know, Garrett, as this idea had come up and seemed more immediate, particularly with those layoffs that happened at the department, a lot of people shifted to worrying about what it would mean for student loans. Is there any indication that there would be some sort of immediate impact felt by this executive order, or is it going to be a wait until Congress gets involved situation?
I think it's very much an open question. I mean, if you look at something like FAFSA and the federal process by which many American students apply for student loans, if not the Department of Education, who would administer that? How would it work? Where would you send your questions, and who would control that money if you're not applying to a school within your state? I think all of these are questions that are going to have to be answered either by the federal government or by the states if they get that far. But again, it's hard for me as a former congressional correspondent to see how they're able to muster the votes, especially in the Senate, to pass legislation that would be necessary to make this broader goal a reality anytime soon.
And Garrett, really quickly before I let you go, they would need on Capitol Hill some Democrats to vote in favor in order to break the filibuster rule, right?
Yeah, that's right. This would require 60 votes in the Senate. I don't know that those 60 votes exist there. And frankly, I don't know if the majority of votes exist in the House. So, again, some states are going to be more ready for this action than others at the jump. And that could cause some cold feet from otherwise supportive House Republicans if their own states say, we're not ready for this kind of responsibility for the entirety of the educational system.
All right. Garrett Haake, thank you so much. We appreciate your reporting and expertise this evening. Thank you.
You bet.
Now to our other major headline tonight, severe winter weather bringing fire and ice to regions across the U.S. The Midwest punished by waves of snow and hail, while firefighters in the state of Florida desperately work to contain a massive brush fire. In Nebraska, semi-trucks seen jackknifing on highways. The whiteout conditions leaving those 18-wheelers leaning off the shoulders of roads. In Kansas, one farmer capturing a stunning scene, wind whipping the powder into snowdrifts taller than his cows. But Mother Nature's wrath is burning both hot and cold tonight. In Florida, officials battling a raging brush fire in Miami-Dade County, scorching thousands of acres so far. Major roads there shut down as firefighters drop water from helicopters trying to contain the flames. In just a moment, Bill Cairns will be live on set breaking down where all of these systems are headed next. But we start with NBC's Maggie Vespa in Chicago.
Wow.
Tonight, in these final hours of winter, dangerous straight-line winds and damaging storms roaring across the Midwest. It's one piece in a brutal patchwork of severe weather. With fierce blizzards slamming Kansas, semis jackknifing on highways in Nebraska, and drivers stranded in Colorado.
I mean, I've never seen anything like this.
In Florida, brush fires closing major roads south of Miami. The Williams family almost trapped amid the flames.
We were all just telling my brother, floor it, you got to get past and do your New York driving, just go.
While the dust storms choking the Southwest this week are now getting pulled east with dust visible over St. Louis.
There was a lot of dust that was pulled into this thunderstorm from Texas, believe it or not, actually creating kind of a brown snow.
This latest round of weather coming on the heels of a deadly week, marked by wildfires in Oklahoma and Texas and a slew of tornadoes across the Midwest and South, leaving combined dozens dead. Destruction, scientists say, worsened by the climate crisis, with one recent study showing an increase in the frequency and intensity of damaging straight-line wind events from thunderstorms, especially in the central U.S.
What?
An area finding itself in the bullseye again tonight. Maggie Vespa, NBC News, Chicago.
Let's get right to NBC meteorologist Bill Cairns. Bill, I mean, these storms, it seems like they're just ramping up.
Yeah, this is another powerful one. Not as bad as the one over the weekend, but this one's going to leave its mark. Already 100,000 people without power in Nebraska. And now we're tracking severe weather. Chicago just got blasted. There's a ground halt at all the airports. That hopefully will be lifted in probably a half hour or so. We have 2 tornado watches that go from western Kentucky all the way up just south of Chicago. Here's those storms as they raced through the Chicago area, now just left with rain. To the south of this, we do have a couple active tornado warnings. So far today, we've had about 6 tornadoes. They've been on the weaker side. bad. I haven't seen any destruction, no injuries reported or anything like that. But this one is near Logan, racing now up towards just north of Lafayette and 65. About 10, 15 minutes ago, we did have a report of a tornado in Terre Haute, Indiana, and that storm is exiting Terre Haute, heading towards just south of Raccoon, Indiana, and just north of Brazil. So we'll keep an eye on all of these storms. We've also had this blizzard. It was in the 70s yesterday in Nebraska. It is currently in the 20s with about 4 inches of snow, and I mentioned about 100,000 people without power because of the blizzard conditions. Blizzard warnings will be expiring tonight. It's still not going to be fun in Wisconsin. The winds won't be as bad, but we could see up to 6 inches of snow in areas like Green Bay. And then tomorrow, this whole storm makes its way to the East Coast. It will not be as powerful then, Ellison, but we will see this line of rain heading through I-95 from D.C. to New York tomorrow evening.
All right, Bill Cairns, thank you. Now to the latest in the missing student in the Dominican Republic. Joshua Reeby, the last known person to see University of Pittsburgh student Sudiksha Kunanki alive, leaving the country today. Reeby spotted at Las American International Airport in Santo Domingo, heading into the airport, going through security, and then eventually boarding a plane that later landed in the United States. His departure comes after a contentious hearing yesterday where a Dominican judge ruled Reeby no longer needed to remain under police supervision. For more on this investigation, NBC correspondent Jesse Kirsch joins us now from Punta Cana. Jesse, walk us through what we know right now about Reeby's departure. There were a lot of questions, even yesterday, about where his passport was.
And I've got some new interesting details about the passport situation, Ellison. But first, just to reiterate, Joshua Reeby has left the Dominican Republic and is now back on U.S. soil. This comes after what he says was a days-long detainment in the Dominican Republic, not far from where I am, just down the coastline, actually, here in Punta Cana. As you can see in this exclusive video we have, Reeby and the man believed to be his father were both wearing face masks as they went through security, went through the check-in area. And there was a woman who was with them. She stayed behind when they went through security. And then NBC News also saw some official from the airport was accompanying them as they went through the boarding process. The door closed, they took off, and again, they are now back in the United States. They're on U.S. soil. As for that passport issue, we were wondering how that was going to all play out because yesterday in court, the judge said that Reeby was free to move, should not be escorted by police, but at the same time, the judge said that it wasn't his place to be making the decision on the passport issue. A short time ago, Reeby's attorney sent us a statement saying that the prosecutor, after the hearing, offered to give Reeby his passport back today. And Reeby thanked them for this, but decided to get a new one for privacy reasons from the United States government and got that expedited and used that passport to get out of the Dominican Republic. And this is interesting because yesterday in court, prosecutors claimed they did not have the passport. They did not know where the passport was. Maybe that situation changed in the immediate aftermath, but that's what prosecutors said in court. And according to Reeby's attorney, sometime after that hearing, the prosecutor said, we'll give you back the passport. I also had an exchange with the prosecutor in the hallway. I asked him which branch of government has the passport if your branch does, and he said, I don't know the passport. Took that to mean I don't know about the passport situation. I reiterated, you don't know anything about his passport, where his passport is, and his response was in English that he does not speak English, Ellison. So a very bizarre situation. I will reiterate, I want to mention, we reached out to the Attorney General's office here in the Dominican Republic for comment on this new revelation from Reeby's legal team, but we have not heard back yet, but just adds to the head scratching that has been going on over the last 24 hours after that contentious hearing.
Jesse Kirsch, thank you. We turn now to the Middle East, where the Israeli military says it has launched a new ground invasion in Gaza. The move coming just a day after Israel launched a barrage of missiles, killing more than 400 people and shattering the fragile ceasefire. For more on this, I want to bring in NBC's Matt Bradley, who is in Tel Aviv. Matt, what do we know about this latest ground offensive?
Yeah, well, this joins the air offensive that we just saw renewed by the Israelis starting, well, not last night, but the night before, overnight. And it looks as though the Israelis have taken up positions inside the Gaza Strip over the course of that treaty that was basically inked in late January. The Israelis withdrew to the periphery of the Gaza Strip. Now it looks as though they're taking up further positions. We've seen videos released by the Israeli Defense Forces showing tanks and troops, ground forces moving in, particularly along that Netzarim corridor. That is an Israeli-built roadway that bisects the Gaza Strip that they had withdrawn as part of that deal from late January. Now it looks as though they've taken up at least, according to them, half of that roadway. We can expect that they'll be taking the other half very soon.
Matt, how are people in Israel responding to the renewed fighting, particularly those who have family members still inside of Gaza?
Well, as with any political question, Ellison, it depends on who you ask. I mean, here in Tel Aviv, we're hearing a lot of anger from the relatives of those who are still trapped there and from people who were released from captivity in the Gaza Strip. There's a lot of feeling here, at least in Tel Aviv, particularly among center-left and leftist circles, that the only way to release these hostages, the remaining people who are there, and there's several dozen of them, is to come to some sort of negotiated deal with Hamas. The notion that Netanyahu and his allies keep peddling is that only military force and military pressure is going to actually compel Hamas to release the remaining hostages. They point to the fact that almost all of the hostages that have been released so far have been released through negotiated deals. So there's a lot of anger on the street here, but it looks as though this government, and this is what these people are saying, and we're seeing protests here as recently as tonight, that this government is putting politics and their goals to defeat Hamas ahead of the welfare of the hostages.
Matt Bradley, thank you. Next tonight, the release of files on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, a major campaign promise by President Trump. Now experts are examining the thousands of documents to see if they resolve the questions that have long surrounded the case. NBC's Andrea Mitchell has more.
The files include documents from the CIA and FBI, illegible handwritten notes, and diplomatic cables, more than tens of thousands of pages in all.
And everything will be revealed.
Released after an executive order by President Trump, they were highly anticipated by scholars and amateur conspiracy theorists who hoped they'd shed new light on whether Lee Harvey Oswald had help on that fatal day in Dallas. Some of the documents include CIA reports on Oswald's trips to the Soviet Union and Finland, and his months in Mexico City just before the assassination. Scholars say it will take months to go through it all, but they believe most of what's in the files was already known. In 1964, the Warren Commission found that Oswald was the lone assassin. Bottom line, will the release of these documents do anything to resolve the conspiracy theories that have proliferated for decades?
I don't think anything that has survived for over 61 years in many cases will reveal much of anything that will solve the problem.
One revelation, a massive CIA Cold War operation to open as many as 1 million letters or packages a month, mailed to and from the Soviet Union and the U.S. The CIA secretly spying on Americans, none that we know of related to the Kennedy assassination. JFK's grandson, Jack Schlossberg, reacted to the release, posting on social media that President Trump is obsessed with his grandfather, but contradicts what he stands for. Ellison?
Andrea Mitchell, thank you. Still ahead tonight, chainsaw attack. A man running through a nursing home with a chainsaw in hand. How this scary scene came to a violent end. Plus, how one Hollywood director allegedly scammed Netflix out of an $11 million investment. And saved in the nick of time, the bystanders coming together to save a woman from a sinking car. Stay with us. We're back now with the online purge by the Pentagon. Dozens of Department of Defense web pages removed, complying with the order from the Trump administration to end references to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The now removed pages featured the contributions made by heroes during World War II, like Private First Class Ira Hamilton Hayes, a Pima Native American who was one of the 6 Marines at Iwo Jima. Navajo code talkers who were instrumental in Marine operations using their native language, and the story of Jackie Robinson, the trailblazing baseball player who also served as a lieutenant in the Army. Robinson's page was later restored, the DOD saying it was, quote, mistakenly removed. For more on this, let's bring in NBC senior Pentagon correspondent Courtney Cubie. Courtney, this purge also included many others who made contributions to the military and American history. What did the Department of Defense have to say about all of it?
Yeah, so basically, this is not the first and it's not the last time that we're going to see this happen as this DEI purge is now in effect at the Department of Defense. So essentially what happened was the administration gave the Pentagon, the military in general, a very short amount of time to clean all of the diversity references off of all of the military's websites around the world. This was a huge task, and to undertake it, the military basically plugged in an algorithm. It searched for words on the websites. Whenever a word popped up that may have fallen in any of these potential diversity categories, the website was taken down or that page was taken down. Then, after everything was, the military thought they were complying with the orders, then they went back and they started realizing that some of the pages that were taken down, like the one about Jackie Robinson, should not have been. Now, we have not gotten a whole lot of clarity about this from the Pentagon. We did get a statement late today from one of the spokespeople there, John Elliott, saying that everyone in the Department of Defense loves Jackie Robinson, as well as the Navajo Code Talkers, Tuskegee Airmen. These are all people whose pages were taken down as part of this DEI purge. And we salute them for their strong, in many cases, heroic service to our country, full stop. But the statement went on to say that we do not view or highlight them through the prism of immutable characteristics such as race, ethnicity, or sex. We do so only by recognizing their patriotism and their dedication. Ellison, that's essentially what we keep hearing when we get these instances of things like the Tuskegee Airmen website being taken down or pages that are dedicated to them, that in fact it was part of this initial purge. And then when people came back, when individuals came back and realized what had been taken down, many of those pages are then later being restored.
Courtney, war heroes, generally speaking, is a topic that usually transcends politics. Has there been any sort of backlash inside of the DOD or just within the different branches of the military, kind of behind the scenes?
Ellison, the backlash has all been on social media and by members of the public and, frankly, people who are associated with these individuals and these groups who are being erased off of the Department of Defense websites. And we are hearing a lot of backlash. Frankly, that's how a lot of these stories are coming to light in the first place.
Courtney Kube, thank you so much. Turning now to money talks and a major decision by the Federal Reserve today announcing it is holding interest rates steady. That means the rate you borrow at for mortgages, credit cards and auto loans is likely to stay around the same for now. Stocks went higher on the news with the Dow Jones, S&P 500 and NASDAQ all up. But the Fed also weighed in for the first time since President Trump's tariffs were announced on where it thinks the economy is going. To explain all of this, let's bring in NBC's senior business correspondent, Christine Romans. Christine, let's start there with the Fed. What did they say about where they think the economy is? What did they have to say about inflation rates?
You know, inflation will likely creep higher this year, is what the Fed said. The unemployment rate could move higher, too, and growth will slow a little bit. There's a lot of uncertainty. I think the bottom line from what we heard from the Fed today, and the Fed chief in particular, uncertainty, lack of clarity, big new plans from the Trump administration, unsure what that's going to mean for the economy. So the Fed holding pat right now.
So what will that mean for interest rates? Because if I remember correctly, the Fed had previously said last year that what they were hoping to see was the inflation rate holding at a sustainable 2%. Right. Do we think they're going to move any which way on those hikes?
So interest rates higher for longer is what I think we're looking forward here to. The Fed chief saying that the committee basically penciling in 2 rate cuts for later this year. We don't know when. So for now, at least, that means interest rates borrowing for homes, for cars, on credit cards. Those rates will stay where they are right now. So no relief for people who are worried those borrowing costs are kind of crimping their budget.
And then we have to look ahead to April 2nd, because that's when we're expecting more tariffs.
Liberation Day is what the president has called it. Tariffs on potentially thousands of line items of goods that the United States trades with 200 different trading partners. Unclear how this is going to roll out. Unclear how difficult logistically it will be to do. But it is certainly an economic shock, unlike we've never seen anything like this before. It is basically the president trying to remake global trade in one move. And so you've got supply chains and companies and consumers bracing for what that's going to mean. So a big uncertainty ahead. One of the reasons why the Fed couldn't really move today, because we're unsure of what happens when the president sort of remakes the global trading system, or tries to, next month.
All right. Christine Romans, thank you. We appreciate it. Coming up, the high-stakes call between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. What both leaders said today about their conversation as Trump pushes for a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. That is next. We're back with Top Stories news feed, starting with the chainsaw attack at a nursing home in Illinois. A warning, this video may be hard to watch. Police releasing new body camera footage showing the man trying to start the chainsaw just feet away from residents sitting in a cafeteria. An officer tasing him after telling him to drop it. The man jumps back up and lunges at police. Officers did shoot and kill the man, who they say was under the influence of drugs. No one else was hurt. 3 people arrested after a daycare in Georgia was accused of giving toddlers Benadryl before nap time. Officials issuing an emergency closure of the child care center, which is located about 60 miles south of Atlanta. The order saying 3 2-year-olds were given Benadryl without their parents' consent. The 3 staff members were charged with simple battery and cruelty to children. Good Samaritans rescuing a woman in Northern Virginia after a car veered off of the parkway into the Potomac River. Video showing a group of bystanders pulling the woman out of the water using a rope. Her Jeep sinking just moments later. She is okay and was taken to the hospital for evaluation. It's unclear what caused the driver to lose control of that car. And courts ruling that Greenpeace must pay hundreds of millions of dollars in damages over its protest against the Dakota Access oil pipeline. A jury finding the environmental group liable for defamation, trespass, and nuisance during its protest in 2016 and 2017. It will pay the sum to Dallas-based Energy Transfer, which built the pipeline upstream from a Native American tribe's reservation. The tribe saying the line was a risk to its water supply. Now to those negotiations over the war in Ukraine. After President Trump called leaders of both Russia and Ukraine, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky agreeing to move forward with a limited ceasefire. But will Russian President Vladimir Putin buy in too? NBC's chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel is in Ukraine with this report.
President Trump today spoke with Ukraine's President Zelensky, and the headline may be, both sides say it went well. Zelensky writing, I had a positive, very substantive, and frank conversation with President of the United States, Donald Trump. We agreed that Ukraine and the United States should continue working together to achieve a real end to the war and lasting peace. At the White House
today, President Trump and Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky had a fantastic phone conversation.
Zelensky said he's on board with President Trump's peace plan and looks forward to talks resuming in Saudi Arabia this weekend. It's a far cry from their last meeting.
You don't have the cards right now.
When Ukrainians say President Zelensky was bullied in the Oval Office, overtalked, talked down to, and called an obstacle to peace. The conversation comes after President Trump spoke with President Putin, who, according to the White House, agreed to stop attacking Ukrainian infrastructure. But is a hospital infrastructure? Ukrainian rescuers say Russia struck this medical facility 7 times overnight. No patients were hurt. They were in shelters, officials say. The Kremlin, in a differing readout from the White House, only mentioned Russia agreeing to halt attacks on Ukraine's power grid. The Trump administration's special envoy, Stephen Witkoff, telling NBC, if anything happened, it happened before the call was over. Ukraine disputes that, and Ukrainian drones also attacked Russia's power grid. The ceasefire in Ukraine today never got out of the starting blocks. Its terms were never clear. President Zelensky said that he and President Trump instructed their teams to resolve technical issues in implementing the ceasefire ahead of negotiations in Saudi Arabia in the coming days. Allison?
Richard Engel in Ukraine, thank you. Next tonight, to an NBC News investigation into IVF and the cases where the dream of starting a new family turns into a nightmare. Our team finding hundreds of lawsuits over the last 5 years involving freezer malfunctions, egg mix-up, and in the case of one family in Los Angeles, embryos that were thrown out entirely.
When Marissa Calhoun and Stephen Castaneda started talking about having children, they knew it wouldn't be an easy road. Marissa has stage 4 endometriosis, a painful condition that can make getting pregnant incredibly difficult.
And I've had about 4 surgeries since my diagnosis, and as a result of that have Spent a lot of time being told by doctors that I may never get the chance to become a mom.
Marissa knew she'd likely have to turn to IVF to conceive, so she went through multiple painful rounds of egg freezing.
Every time I would have a retrieval, it would sort of send my endometriosis into a flare and make me pretty sick.
In 2023, the couple decided to make embryos and were ecstatic to hear they'd created 16. But with one call from the doctor, everything changed.
He basically said the words that immediately let me know something was wrong. I've never had to make a call like the call I'm making right now.
Marissa says the doctor told her because of a labeling error, all of her embryos had been discarded.
How do you just throw away the chance for human life? Just toss it like it's the trash.
So in less than a week, you went from thinking, we're having discussions about how many children do we want to have, to every single embryo is just in the trash.
Yeah.
Marissa and Stephen's story is one of several recent examples of IVF gone awry. Last year, a Georgia woman gave up her 5-month-old baby after a DNA test revealed she'd given birth to someone else's biological son. Both she and the other family had used the same South Carolina fertility clinic for IVF.
It's like the happiest day of their life. It's like the worst day of mine.
Nightmare scenarios like these are thought to be rare, but an NBC News analysis found that in the last 5 years, more than 300 lawsuits have been filed over similar claims, where fertility clinics or related companies allegedly lost, destroyed, or even swapped patients' embryos, eggs, or sperm. The vast majority involved some form of product failure, like when a storage tank that keeps eggs and embryos frozen malfunctions. But more than a quarter of the lawsuits stemmed from alleged mistakes, miscommunications, and other types of human error, including Marissa's.
I feel like I've been robbed not just of our embryos, and not just of my time, not just of tens of thousands of dollars that I spent in that process, but I feel robbed of my choices.
Roughly 1 in 50 babies born in the U.S. today were conceived via IVF, but the federal government only tracks clinics' pregnancy success rates, not their mishaps. Experts say that is a problem.
IVF is the medicine of miracles. The problem is we just don't know how often things go well compared with how frequently mistakes happen.
Dov Fox runs the University of San Diego's Center for Health Law Policy and Bioethics.
So in other areas of healthcare, most states strictly require hospitals to monitor and report what they call never events. These are avoidable and serious errors that just shouldn't happen. Things like mismatched blood transfusions and surgery on the wrong patient or body part. We don't see this in assisted reproduction.
That means lawsuits and news stories are often the only way mistakes like these come to light.
We've represented more than 1,000 people against their fertility clinics. The vast majority of those the public doesn't know about because we settled them before we needed to file the lawsuit.
And ultimately, Marissa and Stephen say that is why they decided to come forward and file a lawsuit against their clinic.
If enough of us speak out, there will be more regulation. There will be more protocol put into place. That's my only hope.
The clinic declined to comment on an active case, but denied the allegations in a court filing. The American Society for Reproductive Medicine, a professional association that recommends best practices for the fertility industry, says IVF is regulated essentially the same way as all medicine in the U.S., and that lawsuits are an important component. As for the couple, they're starting over from scratch at a different clinic.
Is that hard for y'all to trust the system again when you know, regulation-wise, nothing has changed to prevent it from happening again?
It's extremely hard. I do think that the industry at large has gotten away from human care and patient care, and it has become big business. That level of carelessness is the only way that I could wrap my mind around someone taking the potential for human life and just and just throwing it away.
Last month, President Trump issued an executive order tasking the federal government with expanding IVF access and reducing costs, in part by further reducing some regulations. He's asked his administration to present a list of recommendations within 90 days. Up next, the major breakthrough in the battle against a painful blood disorder. The first man cured of sickle cell anemia. He joins us next. We're back now with Top Stories Health Check and the major breakthrough in the cure for sickle cell anemia, a condition that causes severe pain, among other symptoms, mostly impacting Black and Hispanic Americans. But good news tonight. A group of doctors in New York say they have cured a man suffering from the debilitating disease. That man, 21-year-old Sebastian Bozil. Since he was a baby, he'd been in and out of the hospital battling a lifelong struggle with chronic pain. It wasn't until this past December that Sebastian underwent a groundbreaking genetic treatment called Lyfgenia. The process essentially using his own genetically modified bone marrow to transform the blood cells in his body. This treatment is now one of 2 existing therapies that are now giving hope to the more than 100,000 people in the United States who have been diagnosed with the disease. We are joined now by Sebastian and Dr. Jeffrey Lipton. He's the chief of pediatric hematology, oncology, and stem cell transplantation at Cohen Children's Medical Center here in New York. Dr. Lipton, thank you so much for joining us. Sebastian, thank you as well. I got to start with you, Sebastian. I mean, talk to me about this experience for you. I mean, this is a moment that I imagine maybe you hoped would exist at some point in your lifetime, but maybe didn't know if it was going to be possible. How are you feeling? What was it like for you to go through this experience?
Actually, this all was a shock to me because growing up with sickle cell, it was like I was always inside the hospital. My day-to-day life would always be like, it would be cut off because I would have a procedure, I would have to get transfusions, then medication. It was always something. So I really didn't see this coming. And when I got it, it was like a dream come true. Like, especially when they gave me my cells, it felt like I was rejuvenated. I was a new man.
And how has it been since that initial process? Do you still feel good? Have you noticed any other tangible differences for you?
I feel amazing, and my blood shows. Like, my hemoglobin it's been pretty up there without any transfusions, any medications. I haven't been taking hydroxyurea, and I'm not in pain, so that's a good one. Yeah. I haven't been in and out the hospital like I usually do. Like, usually by now, I'd be in the ER or probably Med 4, Pavilion 3, Med 3, one or the other. But I've been good. I haven't had any pain. I've been able to work out. It feels amazing, actually.
Yeah. Dr. Lipton, let me bring you in here because this is an amazing breakthrough. Walk us through this process and how this gene therapy treatment, Lyfgenia, if I'm saying that correctly, how all of that works.
Yeah, I want to start in 1949, and I'll move quickly, I promise. The disease was discovered as a molecular disease and a genetic disease in the late 1940s. And as soon as it was discovered as a genetic disease, it became apparent to scientists that this could ultimately be fixed. And Elson, you had it right. It's the patient's own bone marrow. Is harvested, the stem cells from the bone marrow are harvested from the peripheral blood, are engineered by putting in this case, the normal beta globin gene, which is the protagonist in this story. And then after conditioning so that the body accepts it, the marrow, the stem cells are infused, and they engraft in the patient, and the correction takes place. That's what happened with Sebastian. it's a remarkable thing to see these stem cells drip into the patient and know that the potential for a fix. Right now there are small molecules that are relatively effective for some patients and not for others, as in Sebastian's case.
How soon, Dr. Lipton, do you think this treatment could be available for others?
Well, our goal is to make this universally available, 100% effective without side effects, and inexpensive. And the problem is access. The cost is daunting. We're talking millions of dollars. Medicaid in New York has been supportive of this, but there are patients in the United States and certainly millions of patients in the world who don't have access to this. So the answer is we have a long list of patients who are interested and eligible for this therapy, and we're moving as quickly as possible. So access is key, and bringing down the cost is key. But this is a big step forward for patients, and I envision that will make this available to everybody. If you just speak to Sebastian, he's the best salesman for this. The difference in his life, I can't talk about this without having a little tear in my eye. I've been doing pediatric hematology for a long time. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of patients with sickle cell disease suffer immeasurably with supportive care, pain medicine, antibiotics, small molecules that are reasonably effective, having severely truncated and painful lives. So this is something that should be available to everybody who can get this therapy. It's a remarkable advance.
Yeah. Sebastian, before we go, I have to ask you, what are you thinking about or kind of dreaming about now? I mean, for me, I am a habitual daydreamer. I love to imagine what I could do or may do in the next 5 years. I've done it since I was a kid. Has the way you perceive your future or your aspirations or your dreams, have they opened up differently since having this?
Yes, they have, actually. Because with sickle cell, it's like, I didn't know that mentally, I had to realize at an older age, there's a lot of anxiety that comes with dealing with a chronic illness. And it's like, it would stop me from doing things. I even realized that I think it kind of warped the way I viewed school. But now it's like, I feel like I could go back to school. Traveling, I couldn't travel. I would end up in the hospital in another state. I would be scared I'd end up in the hospital in another country. So I'm traveling first chance I get. I see so many things that I could do now that I wasn't able to do before, because it's like now there's a weight that has been lifted off my shoulders.
Sebastian Bozell, Dr. Jeffrey Lipton, thank you both so much for being here this evening. And Sebastian, we cannot wait to hear about your first big trip abroad. You have to send us photos. Thank you both. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Now to a story some may argue is stranger than fiction. A California filmmaker who has directed stars like Keanu Reeves was arrested for allegedly defrauding Netflix out of $11 million. NBC's Yasmin Masugian has the details.
It's like a scene out of a movie.
Was all this legal?
But instead, it's about a movie, or a movie maker, that is. Carl Eric Wrench, arrested Tuesday over charges including wire fraud and money laundering, alleging he defrauded Netflix out of $11 million. Acting U.S. Attorney Matthew Podolsky in a statement saying, quote, as alleged, Carl Eric Wrench orchestrated a scheme to steal millions by soliciting a large investment from a video streaming service, claiming that money would be used to finance a television show that he was creating. But that was fiction. While Netflix isn't named in the indictment, in 2018, the filmmaker sold a sci-fi series, White Horses, to the streamer for $44 million, as first reported by the New York Times. And a year later, he said he needed more money to complete the series. In March of 2020, Netflix paid $11 million more to finish the show, according to the indictment. Prosecutors say, quote, Rynch began transferring the funds he received through a number of different bank accounts before consolidating them in a personal brokerage account. And in 2 months, lost more than half of it. Our attempts to reach representation for Rynch were unsuccessful.
Likely the transfer to these different accounts contributed to the government's decision to charge money laundering.
And what else do prosecutors say he did with the money? According to the indictment, there was money spent to speculate on cryptocurrency, $1,787,000 in credit card bills, over $1 million on lawyer fees to sue Netflix, and even more for a divorce. He spent $395,000 to stay at the Four Seasons and other luxury rentals, almost $4 million on furniture and antiques, nearly $700,000 on 2 mattresses, and almost $300,000 on the sheets. Plus the 5 Rolls Royces, the Ferrari, the watches, and the clothing, totaling over $3 million.
Expect the defense to try and characterize these expenditures as not personal, but instead income that he was entitled to and income that he went out and spent on. That still may be a difficult argument to make.
We reached out to Netflix, and a spokesperson has declined to comment. The arrest coming less than a year after Netflix was awarded $8.8 million in damages, a sum a judge ruled Rynch spent on non-production costs, in an arbitration initiated by the filmmaker who alleged the streaming giant owed him $14 million.
Yasmin Vasugian joins us now in studio. Yasmin, walk us through the specific charges here. And in terms of time, if this filmmaker is convicted, how long could he be behind bars?
So he's looking at 7 separate counts, 1 count of wire fraud, 1 count of money laundering, 5 counts engaging in monetary transactions and property derived from specified unlawful activity. Reading directly here from the indictment, he's looking at upwards of 90 years. So the rest of his life in prison, 10 years each for those 5 counts and 20 years possibly each for those 1 count of wire fraud and money laundering. Will he get that if, in fact, he's found guilty? Likely no, but he could certainly get a significant sentencing here for some of these major counts here, Ellison.
Yasmin Vasugian, thank you. And thank you so much for watching Top Story. I'm Ellison Barber in New York for Tom Llamas. Stay right there. More news is on the way.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.